New Japan Pro Wrestling has reached new lows this week, both in copyright striking their content creators, and dare I say even their content creators, as well as viewership and attendance records. None of this should surprise you. We also will be talking about AEW Dynamite, NXT this week, and Impact Rebellion coming up this Sunday. I'll be talking about Stardom's Cinderella tournament, which kicked off a few days ago. I'm just now coming around to it, but I'll be giving a review of Round 1, as well as a preview for Round 2 onwards. And also, just to spice up things up on this podcast, I'll be talking about my top 5 favorite John Cena matches, since this Friday is his 44th birthday and my 24th. And I will be giving my top 23 matches for each of the 23 years I've been alive, from 1997 all the way up to 2020. This is the 43rd edition of the Chill Spill podcast. The S is silent, by the way. Yo, what is going on, guys? It is your boy Tyler Mask, aka Tyler Quinn Williams, aka Suplex with 2 O's, SOOPLEX. And that's with 2 X's on Twitch now. It's no longer Tyler Suplex on Twitch, it's Suplex, SOOPLEXX on Twitch, aka the one who lived. And welcome back to another edition, the 43rd edition of the Chill Spill podcast, and that is pill spelled with an S, but it's silent, much like Korakuen Hall is whenever New Japan is in town. Seems like shows have been doing very bad lately. We're going to talk about that in a hot second. But guys, this is the 43rd edition. I am not going to lie to you guys. I'm recording this episode on Tuesday morning, as I usually do record the podcast on Tuesday morning. I'm going to be soon moving it to Monday mornings and doing a podcast on Tuesdays instead, just to get a jump on certain things, like, you know, doing my live stream every Wednesday and doing a podcast on Wednesday too. I feel like there's a bit too much of a saturation on Wednesdays, so I'm going to be moving the podcast to Tuesday very soon. I don't know what day that's going to be, but soon it will be moving to Tuesday. I just didn't have the... I don't want to say I didn't have information. I didn't feel like there was enough news to really talk about on Monday to record the podcast on Monday. And then I waited today, and I'm like, there still really isn't enough news to talk about. Like, so I kind of had to scramble to find things to talk about on the podcast. But I thought I found some good topics here. The first being New Japan Pro Wrestling. I haven't talked about them in a hot minute. They had their upcoming Road to the Untaku tour. I say upcoming, it's actually happening right now. I say upcoming because I haven't been watching it. Really anything New Japan related, honestly. They have their upcoming Wrestling Satsu no Kuni tour, I should say, which is a 2-night event. And then after that is the Wrestling Untaku tour happening on May 3rd and May 4th. Then onward with the Road to Grand Slam tour. But New Japan Pro Wrestling is under a bit of fire from fans, which it seems like every other month they're under fire from fans for some reason, which this is not a good trend for them. More content creators have been struck by New Japan. This really isn't news, but I just want to note something here. So, a YouTube channel by the name of Dave Knows Wrestling, which I've watched some of their videos before in the past. If anything, I would have to credit him for the reason why I somewhat sort of know the concept of Noah in old school All Japan, as he did a video detailing the history of Pro Wrestling Noah and the style of King's Road and all that stuff. Very knowledgeable guy. He has a really cool YouTube channel. I don't agree with all of his opinions all the time, but I like his channel. One of my subscribers, followers, Twitch followers, whatever you want to call it, Twitter followers, whatever you want to call them, actually tagged me in a post saying that his channel got DMCA takedown. He got a copyright strike, and I'm like, oh, that's rough. I've always try to help out people who go through this stuff as me myself. I've got my channel deleted. You guys know the whole story. I'm not gonna go over it again. But Dave Knows Wrestling got a copyright strike. I thought he got like multiple, but he only got one, so I consider he got off easy. But of course, one copyright strike is not good at all. So if he ever wants to hit me up and we can work on that, we can. But at his own pace. And then also a guy by the name Ciaran H. I'm going to say is Ciaran. I don't know if it's Kyran or Ciaran. It's one of the two. Ciaran RH on Twitter. I follow his Twitter account. He posts a lot of on this day tweets regarding New Japan Pro Wrestling. Very big fan of New Japan. I think he's been mentioned on New Japan Pro Wrestling like TV a few times. And, you know, he's in good contacts with, you know, Rocky Romero and Kevin Kelly. You know, he's one of those guys on Twitter, very positive, always putting out good energy. One of those guys you need to follow if you're just trying to get away from the toxicity of the wrestling community sometimes. You really don't see these type of guys posting the type of stuff. So it's kind of refreshing in a sense. Well, his Twitter page of 20,000 followers, I believe, or somewhere close to that, it almost got damn near deleted. Almost got damn near deleted with DMCA takedowns from TV Asahi. So not only are they striking YouTube channels, which is why I wanted to talk about this, but now they are striking Twitter pages. Now, I've received a DMCA from them before. I've received one, and I forgot what it was regarding, but I've received one from them before, which I thought was really funny. But Ciaran here received multiple. I want to say he received like more than 4, but he said he received 4 DMCAs from using screenshots of the shows on Twitter. So no longer can you screenshot pictures from a show. No longer can you use clips from the show to show your friends, to show your followers, your Twitter buddies. No, not at all. You can't do any of that anymore because you will be jeopardizing your Twitter account. You'll end up like him. His Twitter page was not taken down. I don't believe he's in Twitter jail, but those DMCAs do harm your account. This is also one noteworthy thing. One of his most recent tweets, he said, TBSI hit me with more strikes for the number 4 screen grabs I posted from the NJPW show yesterday. So I guess I can't even do that. Not posting anything NJPW related anymore on this day, or otherwise not worth losing my Twitter account. So he was in the same place I was in when my channel got taken down. I didn't want to talk about New Japan. I didn't want to see New Japan. I just didn't want it. You know, we all get to that stage where we just like, you know, fuck New Japan, all that shit. So I feel for the guy. But then in the comment section, and I had to check the Twitter pages to make sure this is the accurate guy, this is the actual guy. He got a reply from Aaron Hanare. Yes, Toa Hanare, now Aaron Hanare of Will Ospreay's faction United Empire, commented on his page, and he said, and I quote, "Don't feel bad, man. They flagged me and censored me for expressing my discontent." Now, I don't know if he is working us. I don't know why he would even try to work the fans with that, because it's going against the company itself. I don't see what he gains from getting heats in that manner. So I'm going to assume that what he's saying is true and that he was flagged by them. Now, what he means by censoring, by expressing his discontent, I have no idea. Like, I don't know if that means he tweeted out something and they flagged him. I don't know what that means. There's not much context to it. I might try to go back to the tweet. Let me try going back to the tweet and see if maybe there's some more context to it. Maybe somebody asked another question. I saw this tweet right before I went live and I wanted to talk about it here. But I just thought that was just so interesting that he says that, oh, I've been, you know, shackled down by them in some way. No, it's nothing more to it. But no, that is the authentic Aaron Hanare account. He says that he's been flagged by them, which I just think is so funny that TBSIE literally flags even their own wrestlers. Huh. So, New Japan is at a new low there, and a lot of fans are not happy about this. You know, when your favorite content creator gets hits, people go straight to Twitter and they're like, oh, New Japan, they're turning away their fans, da-da-da-da-da. You know, that's what people do. They get upset. I've been upset. I've had some of my fans, some of my followers do the same thing. Here's what I'm going to say about this whole situation. This is not going to end. I've noticed this. It's never ending. This started last July. Last July with me. That was when we're coming up on 1 year since my channel was deleted. 1 year. My channel really hasn't recovered as much as I wanted it to since then, but July will make a full calendar year since my channel got deleted. In that calendar year, I've seen countless of other YouTube channels. I mean, to name a few, you have Wrestling Rantin. He got his channel deleted. You had Pro Wrestling, why am I forgetting the name? SOS Wrestling Network got their channel deleted. Fallback, one of the biggest Spanish YouTubers in the wrestling community. I mean, this guy was literally on the WrestleMania pre-show. The WWE Network, the Peacock page, was on the WrestleMania Spanish pre-show panel. He had his channel almost deleted by TBSIE. I helped him get it back. Big ups to Fallback, by the way. Good friend of mine. I've seen now Dave Knows Wrestling has got his channel pulled. There's some Twitter followers, some Twitter users, big ones that got their channel, that got their Twitter pages pulled. They got their Twitter pages DMCA'd. This is not going away. This is just what they do. This is what TBSIE does. That's how they go about their business. It's dirty. It's an abuse of power. It's disgusting, but that's just what they do. So this is just a service announcement, you should say, for any content creators out there. If you're listening to this and you create content of any way, whether it be posting on Twitter, posting on YouTube, doing podcasts, doing videos on anything, this is a message to you from somebody who had their channel taken down before. New Japan Pro Wrestling may be a good product to watch, but it is not a good product if you are trying to, make content. If you are a podcaster and you want to talk about New Japan on your podcast, cool, go about it, because it is just audio only. But if you are on YouTube and you want to do a video essay, if you want to do a review with pictures and videos, you are signing a death wish. This company does not care how big you are, how small, and they definitely don't care how big you are, because Fallback had 263,000 subscribers and he almost had his channel deleted. So they don't care how big you are. They don't care how small you are, because I had 7,000 subscribers and my channel got deleted. They don't care how small you are. They don't care of your race, your ethnicity, your gender. They will strike you. They will take your shit down. They do not care. I don't know why, to this extent, they're going this far. And I don't know who has to be spoken to make them realize that this is just a downward trend for them. I'm not going to sit here and say that, oh, without your content creators, they're nothing. But they do need to understand that the more people stop covering them, the less people talk about them. They are a company that is almost certainly going off of word of mouth at this point. If you don't have content creators to do videos about you, you are relying on word of mouth, you are relying on television promotion, and that is basically it. And word of mouth goes around by watching people talk, people content. If there's no content being put out, how do you expect people who may not even know New Japan is to discover this product? How do you expect people to even get interested, who may even know what New Japan is, to get interested in the product if there's nobody telling them that this was a good match, this is a great match, you should watch this, maybe you shouldn't watch this? How do they expect people to even know what New Japan is in North America? Exactly. And I'll tell you one thing. When the people who are talking about your company are talking about it negatively, big and small are talking about it negatively, that impacts your company negatively. Because then you shy away fans who may watch your product because these people review your product. Or they may, once again, not know your product, see these people talk negatively about it, and then say, oh, well, maybe I dodged a bullet there by not watching. I feel like New Japan, I can't find it in my mind to believe that they are not realizing this. I really want to be naive and feel like they they can't not be realizing this. And maybe there's just somebody who was just determined to not go through that. They're like, no, we have these laws and we're going to follow it. But I don't know what's going on in their heads. I don't know what they're going through. I don't know why they decided to go this way. But the more this keeps happening, the more people, the less and less viewer notoriety they're going to get. They're going to build up a lot more negative rapport as time goes on if this keeps going on. And it looks like this is still going to keep going on. So I am almost certain that New Japan Pro Wrestling in 1 year's time will have little to no people covering it. Because this is just going to keep going. But let's not even talk about this content creation. Let's talk about the attendance record for these New Japan shows. Because I've been seeing this on Twitter lately as well. New Japan Pro Wrestling's Korakuen Hall shows. It's one of their key venues to go to. Korakuen Hall is one of the most prolific venues in all of the world. Not even just wrestling, but all of the world is Korakuen Hall in Tokyo, Japan. When wrestling shows go there, it's a big deal. I mean, unless you live in Japan, unless you're residing in Japan, then it's not as big of a deal. But when you go to Korakuen Hall, it's a big deal. A lot of pro wrestlers dream to wrestle one day in Korakuen Hall. Main event Korakuen Hall. Any of the sorts. New Japan Pro Wrestling is fortunate enough to be a big enough company that they can run Korakuen Hall anywhere from 25 to 50 times a year. During a pandemic, they're still running shows at Korakuen Hall. So let's not act like there is not a pandemic going on. I will not pretend like, fans just, everybody stopped watching New Japan and they're not attending shows. But no, it is partially because of the pandemic. But let's not also sit here and act like coronavirus is the only reason why viewership is down and attendance is down. That is not the only reason. It is part of the reason. You could even say it's the main reason, but that is not the only reason. And some fans are very content with believing that COVID is the only proprietor in why anything fails. And that is just not true. But let's take a look at this. The latest Korakuen Hall show New Japan had was yesterday. And I believe there wasn't that many big matches on the show, but it's a Korakuen Hall show nonetheless. Road 2 show. Take that to account as well. They drew a house of 306 people. Now, if we look up Korakuen Hall and see how many people can be held in Korakuen Hall, it has a capacity of 2,005 people with 1,403 seats. Now, with COVID protocol, and I don't know if New Japan's really following that, because the more and more I watch their shows, the more and more crowded it starts to look. But even with COVID, 1,400 seats, or whatever I just said, because I clicked off of it, that many seats versus 306 seats, that is not a lot. That is not a lot. That's almost a quarter, less than a quarter of the seats being filled up at these shows. So, viewership is low. But then let's also talk about some other promotions currently running right now. DDT. DDT just ran a show called April Fools 2021. This may be one of their bigger shows, I'm not too sure. But they ran it at Korakuen Hall. This was on April the 11th. They had a total of 650 people in attendance. Mind you, New Japan Pro Wrestling is the biggest Japanese promotion for pro wrestling. Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling, which is basically a subsidiary of DDT. They ran a show, still incomplete, maybe one of their bigger shows, but still ran in Korakuen Hall. Happened on April the 17th. 510 people attended that show. Dragon Gate. They just ran a show on, I believe, a few days ago. I don't believe this is a big show, because when I looked at the card, there were no championship matches and they were mainly tag team matches. 694 people. Stardom. They're the same company that is doing 3,000 people for their biggest show of the year, All-Star Dream Cinderella, that ended up outdrawing both nights of Castle Attack and both nights of New Beginning in Hiroshima. Just a little fact thrown in there. Stardom, their first night of the Cinderella tour, which many fans do not like the fact that the Cinderella tour has been split up into separate nights. I agree. I think it should have been held in 1 or 2 nights, but they are splitting it up across a few weeks. Not a fan of that, and that very well could have affected how many people attended this show. But they had the first round on this day, and they drew 606 people. 300 more than New Japan Pro Wrestling. Each show that I named to you, Dragon Gate, Stardom, TJPW, DDT, all shows that many fans will say are less than, inferior to New Japan Pro Wrestling, all drew more than New Japan Pro Wrestling's latest Korakuen show. So if that's not an indicator that New Japan is not doing well right now, not just with copyright, but in general, then I don't know what is. And then a question lies. What is happening? Why is New Japan not doing well? Why are they reaching new lows? Answer is simple. The product is not very good. I've said this before. I've said this in previous videos, but the numbers are starting to prove it. The content that they're putting out, the production, the matches, the feuds that they're putting out are not very good. They're not very compelling stories. They're stories that have been recycled. They're stories that are not very enticing or exciting. Get me out of my feet. Get me ready to watch New Japan Pro Wrestling at 4 a.m. None of the storylines are doing any of this. You have wrestlers who were at the top of the world, maybe even, getting a bigger push than they would have ever gotten before COVID started, at the very beginning of COVID, the COVID era of New Japan, that are now almost forgotten factors. I mean, Evil has to be the absolute biggest example of somebody who was at the top of the world. I mean, this guy went from the heavy of LIJ in one turn at the very beginning of New Japan Cup 2020. He was the heavy of LIJ, and that's really all Evil's been for like most of his career. And really, when Shingo came in, you could say Shingo even stole that from him. He went from the heavy of LIJ all the way up to winning the New Japan Cup 2020 by turning heel and beating Okada. Then, the next day, at Dominion, this happened the day after he beat Okada, he went on to beat Tetsuya Naito. After joining the Bullet Club, mind you, and turning heel officially, he went on to beat Tetsuya Naito to become the new IWGP Intercontinental and Heavyweight Champion, and one of the, you could even say one of the darkest days, kayfabe-wise, one of the darkest days in New Japan. I would even say one of the most popular, or there was not a single soul in the wrestling community that was not talking about this moment when Evil beat Naito at Dominion. Because it was so unexpected, it was so shocking. New Japan was at probably one of the heights of popularity last year during that period of the beginning of COVID, the COVID era. They were at their heights. They were at their peak. Estoy me peak. Estoy me peak. Got to go Bad Bunny on you guys for a second. He sold out of his show, by the way. I'm a little disappointed. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So Evil then is now your new champion. Everyone's like, oh, what's going to happen in New Japan? This is so interesting. This is so cool. Not everybody was. A lot of people didn't like it. I was more interested than I was excited to see what was going to happen. I was more interested in anything. And I was wanting to give New Japan a big chance to impress the hell out of me. And what did they do with Evil? Well, they give him one defense against Hiromu, which was big because Hiromu was currently the junior heavyweight champion. I'm like, all right, cool. This is different. This is new. We're heading in a new direction here. I appreciate that. He gets one defense against Hiromu. Then, like, the next month, he faces off against Tetsuya Naito in a rematch at Summer Struggle in Jingu Stadium, where he loses to Tetsuya Naito. And a lot of people were, not shocked by this. Tetsuya Naito was due for win back. Tetsuya Naito this, Tetsuya Naito that. Everybody wants to have him have his moment. But Evil kind of did not get a good reign. Evil's reign was not very good. Let's not sit here and lie to ourselves. Evil had a shocking moment. You could even say Evil had a career-defining moment. But his reign did not show for that at all. He had one defense, and then he lost it right back to the same person he won it from in their first match. Well, in their second match, I should say. So you come out of this match, then you go into Evil trying to chase that title back. Then everybody comes back. Jay White's back. Kenta's back. And they basically just push Evil to the side. Now, in the very beginning of the G1 Climax, there was still this little power imbalance with Evil and Kenta and Jay White. You know, Evil's beating down Kenta. People are like, oh, what's going on there? Jay White's on the opposite block. He's coming out during like one of Evil's last matches and almost nearly distracting him. And like, oh, what's going on with Evil and Jay White, which went no fucking where. Missed opportunity once again, New Japan. You're wondering what is going on with Evil and Jay White. Well, as time goes on, Jay White slowly but surely just finds his way back into the leadership role. Almost like he never lost it in the first place. And Evil kind of falls to that second place. Evil then rematches Tetsuya Naito in the G1 Climax, their third match since July. And he beats Tetsuya Naito. And that gets him another rematch. Their fourth match at Power Struggle in November. So from July of 2020 to November of 2020, your IWGP Heavyweight and IC Championship picture consisted of two men, Naito and Evil. And if you want to throw home winner, you can, but that was one match. I don't count it. Evil and Naito were your only feuds for basically the latter half of 2020. Because right after Power Struggle, the next big show was Wrestle Kingdom. And that's where we got Naito and Ibushi, you know, and Ibushi won. It was a great moment. You got Ibushi and White. They had an amazing match, and Ibushi retained. Then Ibushi went on to have I would say a good enough reign. I don't even want to say good because it was good enough. He had 4 months and 2-3 defenses. And I don't think he really had a compelling storyline in that entire run. What did he do? He defended against Naito. He defended the IC, I should say, against Naito. He defended both belts against Sonata. Okay. And then he defended both belts against Despy before unifying them. There really wasn't a compelling feud in that entire 4 months he had. And then he lost it to Ospreay. And Ospreay's been champion for really only a few weeks now, so I can't really judge him and how he's doing, especially considering I don't watch New Japan, so I really can't even tell you how he is as a champion. But New Japan just seemingly has just been on this downward spiral in creativeness, and just, it's almost like they didn't know what the hell to do after COVID happened. Any good booking they had just fell apart after New Beginning in Osaka 2020. I don't understand it. We can sit here and fantasy book New Japan for the next few years, talk about what they could do, what they can do, and what this guy can win, and how they could go about making Will Ospreay a better heel, and how Okada can do this and that, and we can fantasy book all damn day, but the fact of the matter is this company refuses to adapt and refuses to change. That is one thing I have realized in my 4 years of watching New Japan Pro Wrestling. They repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. The same feuds, the same storylines, the same matches. Every once in a while you get something new, but then they go right back to status quo because that's what works. That's what works for them. That's what people eat up. People are there to watch the great matches. That's what a lot of fans are there to watch. Great matches, hard-hitting content, and that's what we get. And that's what they enjoy, and that's what they know you enjoy, so that's what they put out. And it works, because you tune in. However, for somebody like me who likes some diversity, if you lack it, I'm sorry, I don't feel reason to tune into your show every week. Especially if diversity isn't very good. But New Japan is just lacking a lot. And it's really sad to see. Really sad to see that number, that they are that low. They are that far behind with their numbers in Korakuen. And to see that, and you know, it's good for all the other promotions that they have higher numbers in New Japan. You know, I'm happy to see that Stardom is almost doubling the number that New Japan had at the Korakuen show. I'm happy for them. I'm happy to see that DDT and Dragon Gate are doing almost double the numbers in New Japan. Because maybe that might kick them in the ass a little bit to make them try harder. But at the same time, every single time I see to want to have them do something different, they go right back to what they were just doing. So I won't be surprised until their numbers keep falling and falling and falling, and they wonder why. And maybe they'll try at some point. One can hope, at least. One can hope. But I'm done talking about New Japan. Let's talk about something more positive. Let's talk about Stardom. Stardom just had their Cinderella tournament round 1. Like I said earlier in the podcast, in years past, Stardom has done the Cinderella tournament all in one day, sometimes across 2 days. But this year, they decided they're going to stretch it. Botsmania here. This year, they decided they're going to stretch it across a couple weeks. Round 1 this week, round 2 next week. I think round 2 might be combined with the semifinals and the finals. But they decided to stretch this out across like 2 weeks, and I thought that was the dumbest decision, because now you have people who basically gotta wait. And it's a different story if in years past they've done this, but when you've conditioned fans that this tournament will get knocked out in one day and you have them wait a week, 2 weeks to finish it out, it just kind of makes them lose interest. And that's part of the reason why it took me so long to catch up with this tournament. It's like, well, I already know I'm not going to have the final spoiled for me because that's not happening for another couple days. So that's why I'm just getting around to it now. But let's talk about what happened in this tournament. We had a few matches here. We had Hanan versus Jamaica. I thought Hanan looked really good in this match. Like, honestly and truly, Hanan has been one of my low-key, like, top prospects for, like, since I started watching Stardom. Like, when I started watching Stardom in 2019, I saw a couple Hanan matches, and I'm like, damn, she's actually pretty good for how young she is. She's pretty agile, nice formation on suplexes, good at selling. But then she got hurt, and I didn't see her for a long time. She just came back last year, and this is one of her first key matches back against Jamaica. And I thought she had a really good showing. I thought she even outshined Jamaica in this match. Can't really tell you what Jamaica did. Jamaica did win the match with her JP coaster, or Burning Hammer, or Bianca Belair's KOD. Shout out to the SmackDown Women's Champion. Advancing on to the next round, Jamaica makes it on. Like I said, it was a okay match, but Hanan shined brightest. Next, after that, we had Konami versus Micah. It was good for what we got. The end came when Micah managed to attempt to superplex. The ending was pretty cool, though. She attempted to superplex Konami over the top rope from the apron. So you have Micah on the apron, Konami on outside of the ring. She tried to superplex her over the top rope. She gets Konami over the top rope, but Konami kind of like used her body weight to fall towards Micah and try to guillotine choke her. Micah uses her power and suplexes Konami onto the goddamn apron, and Konami falls to the mat. Micah won in this match. Now, what I thought was funny is that Micah suplexed her on the apron, because when you think about it logistically, suplexing somebody onto the apron is going to hurt you just as much as you hurt the opponent. So wouldn't that mean Micah would fall to the ground first? But let me not think about that too much. Anyway, Micah won the match. I would have personally went Konami, but dope finish. Dope finish. We had Unagi Sayaka versus Natsuki Torah. This was the start of Iwatani's run during this tournament, where they just basically just ran roughshod in all the matches they were in. Natsuki Torah went for a clothesline Unagi. Unagi ducked, and Natsuki Torah debated herself over the top rope. So Torah actually lost this match. She tried everything to beat Unagi, but she got debated. It was a nothing match, by the way. Very nothing match. But Unagi makes it on. We had Azumi versus Reena. Now, I haven't been watching the last few Stardom shows, so I don't really know what's been going on with Reena and Azumi, if they have beef of some sort. But Reena comes out first, then Azumi comes out. Azumi's walking down to the ring. Reena runs at her, and starts jumping her. I'm like, wait a minute, what the fuck? Like, Reena don't be do. I had never seen Reena go at somebody like that before. Now, I know she hasn't recently just joined the Wedo Tai. She's been part of Wedo Tai for like at least a solid few months now. But like, she jumped Azumi like real good. Got her into the ring, beating her down. I would say she got one close near fall, but Azumi kicked out. Azumi got control back, which didn't really take too long. The match then became very one-sided. She had a double foot stomp onto her. Reena kicked out. Azumi went to the top rope, tried for another one. But Natsuki grabs Azumi's foot and pulls her to the apron. Mind you, Reena's distracting the referee here. So while Azumi's kind of trapped in the apron, Reena runs and dropkicks Azumi. Azumi doesn't fall. She dropkicks her again. Azumi's now on two knees. Azumi's trying to fight off Natsuki, and Reena dropkicks her again, and Azumi falls off the apron for the elimination. As a Azumi fan, as a big fan of Azumi, I was disappointed. But at the same time, I'm like, all right, let's go, Reena. Like, I was shocked that Reena came in here with this amount of fire. Like, I'm like, you know what? Fuck, I'll give Reena her props. She ain't do anything that was like a star-making performance or anything, but like, that was probably the most personality I've ever seen from her. The most I've ever seen from her. So I'm happy for Reena. She ain't making any further than the next round, but I'm happy for her. Happy for her. We had Starlight Kid versus Momo Watanabe. They had a match at last year's Stardom Cinderella tournament, which was way better. Not to say this was bad, but that match was way better. Way better. And they had way more time, too. Starlight Kid and Momo battle out here. I thought they had a good match for what it was worth. Starlight Kid springboard drop kicks Momo over the top rope, but she falls on the apron. SOK goes to perform her move, but Momo dumps her over the top rope as well, so now they're both on the apron. Momo then gets SOK up on the apron for a Peach Sunrise, and I'm like, that's gonna fucking hurt. SOK, in the midst of this Peach Sunrise, counters this into a sunset flip powerbomb onto the apron, and Momo falls to the mat, eliminating Momo, and SOK makes it on to the next round. And I'm just sitting there like, damn. I really badly want to know, who did Momo piss off? Momo had to piss somebody, like, I don't know if she showed up to work late. I don't know if maybe she was bad-mouthing Rossi to a dirt sheet and he heard about it. But my girl has been eating shit for like the last year, I feel like. I don't even know when's the last time Momo felt like a big deal. She's been eating loss after loss after loss after loss after loss. And you're just waiting for the comeback. But I don't know when that is. She just keeps losing. At some point, if she keeps losing, people are going to lose faith in her. People are gonna lose faith in Momo soon because she keeps losing. There's a different story between a comeback story where, you know, they lose and lose and lose, and the fans get behind them even more and more and more. But Momo's been losing so much to so many big people. It's becoming into that dangerous territory when she's gonna be close to being irrelevant soon. She's gonna be getting that JOBBR status very soon from fans. She keeps on losing this many matches. Dare I say Stardom, be careful with that, but I think they're aware of it. She's getting punished for some reason, but I'll never know what it's for. We had Fukujin Death versus Mayu Iwatani. Now, I have not been paying attention to the latest Stardom shows. I don't know when Fukujin Death happened, why she joined Oedo Tai, or she was forced to join Oedo Tai, but Natsuki forced her out to the ring. She was crying, she was dejected, upset. Mayu comes out and she looks all kind of like, you know, like she looks kind of like she looks like she has sympathy. She feels upset. She feels sad for Fukujin Death. She gets into the ring and Fukujin Death attacks Mayu, and I'm like, oh, I've been bamboozled. I've been hoodwinked. I've been lied to. That's rough. That's really rough. But Fukujin and Natsuki both attack Mayu on the outside. They get her into the ring. And Mayu and Fukujin battle out for a bit. Mayu rose her up against the pin. That's really all I can sum of this match up to. Moving on from there, we had Julia versus Ruka. Not gonna lie, I was kind of hoping for Ruka to get the dub here. And I'm not a big fan of Ruka. I would even say Ruka's my least favorite wrestler in Stardom. But Julia wins all the fucking time. So, like, seeing her get knocked down a peg, I wouldn't mind. I know she lost the, All-Star Dream Cinderella to Tam, but still. Anytime we can see Julia take an L, I'm here for it, bro. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. But she did not. Ruka tried her best. And I will say Ruka has slowly but surely improved. Not by much, but she is getting better. But Ruka gets dumped on her head with a driver from Julia and gets pinned. So Julia's making it on. Then we get to the key three matches of the show. we had Mina Shirakawa versus the World of Stardom champion, Utami Hayashishida. This was a really good match. Like, this may have been the best Mina Shirakawa match I've seen to date. And she's had some good ones. But Utami is one of the best Stardom has right now. She's really been improving her craft since becoming the champion. And you wouldn't know she's the world champion because she's always on the undercard for some fucking reason. Not the undercard, but she's always beneath. Always beneath somebody. She's never really the main event. She's always beneath somebody. Ever since she won that title, I feel like she's been beneath somebody. But that's another discussion we're going to have another day. Mina tried her best, but Utami ended up winning the match with a bridging German suplex. Utami's making on to the next round. We then had the match I was most excited for in this entire show. The Wonder of Stardom champion, Tam Nakano, versus Sayakamatani. Two of my top favorites in Stardom right now. Tom being my first. I could even say Sai is really my second. Well, nah, Azumi's my second. Sai is my third. So, Tam Nakano and Sayakamatani had really good chemistry. I can't wait for the next match. And what was the sickest top rope elimination I may have ever seen in my entire life. Tam Nakano gets Sayakamatani outside the ring on the apron. As most of this match has been. Most of this show, like 85% of this show was top rope elimination, by the way. She gets Saya on the apron. And she's going for like a drop kick or a clothesline or whatever. She runs the ropes. Saya gets up to her feet. Does a springboard. Not into the ring. But just springboards upwards. She then falls towards Tam Nakano. Legs around her neck. And Hurricanrana's Tam Nakano over the top rope. Basically, West Coast pops this bit. Not say that before somebody cancels me. West Coast pops this, you know what, this girl over the top rope and eliminates her. It was the sickest shit I have seen in a long ass time. Sayakamatani out here killing the game as she always does. She is that bitch. Still that bitch, always gonna be that bitch. And that's a reference to Megan Thee Stallion, so fuck off. But this was really good. I enjoyed this. After the match, even Tam was so impressed that she gave Saya her comeuppance. I can't wait for part 2. And the main event of this show was Shiori versus Natsupoi. Now, why was it Shiori versus Natsupoi? Well, of course, Donald Damondo. That is why they're not because they're the champions of some sort. No, yeah, I know. Shiori is like the tag team champion. But no. Donald Damondo. That is why they're main event. And they had a good match as well. Shiori won the match. That's all I can tell you. Because I was kind of in and out of the main event. Not going to lie. But that leads us to the rest of the tournament. That I believe is happening today on 420. I'm going to go through the brackets, which are very confusing. So I'm going to try to make this make sense. We have Shiori going up against Utami Hayashishida. And the winner will face Unagi Sayaka, who has a first round bye into the next round. Now, why she has a first round bye? I don't know. She just does. But we have Julia versus Micah, who will also be going to the semifinals to face the winner of Utami versus Unagi. Why I laid out like this? Once again, I have no fucking clue. But on the other side of the bracket, we have Starlight Kid versus Sayakamatani. The winner will go to the semifinal round. We have Iwatani versus Reena. And the winner will face Jamaica, who has a first round bye. Why? I don't know. I'm going to say Mayu will win that match against Reena and face Jamaica in the semifinals. Well, in the quarterfinals. It brings it down to this. Utami Hayashishida versus Unagi Sayaka. Winner goes to the semifinal round. I'm going to go with Utami to beat Unagi. There's not a chance in hell Unagi is beating the world champion. We have Julia versus Micah. Winner goes to the semifinal round. As much as I think it would be cool to see Micah beat Julia here, it's Julia. Julia's not losing. Julia beats Micah. We have Mai Iwatani on the right side of the bracket versus Jamaica. Mai Iwatani is going to win. And then we have Starlight Kid versus Sayakamatani, which is going to be a banger. I can't wait for that match. I'm going to go with Sayakamatani to get the W here, which leads us to the semifinal round. You have Utami Hayashishida versus Julia, which I'm surprised has not happened for the World Championship yet, but this is their first match, to my knowledge. And I believe Julia is going to beat Utami to set up a future championship match between Julia and Utami. She makes it onto the finals, and that leaves us with Iwatani versus Sayakamatani, which this match is going to kick a lot of ass. It's just gonna, so get ready. And I believe that in the shocker of the century, probably top rope elimination, because they don't got the balls to have Saya pin Mayu, Sayakamatani will win this match. And the finals of the Stardom Cinderella tournament will be Julia versus Sayakamatani, with Sayakamatani getting the shocking victory over Julia, because Julia should not be a 2-time back-to-back Cinderella tournament winner. And I think where we will go here is that Sayakamatani will challenge Tam Nakano at Tokyo Dream Cinderella on May 29th at Ota City Gymnasium for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. Now, I don't know if that's the time where they have Saya, they pull a trigger with Saya, but I think that is the match we're heading towards. With the way they were kind of, giving each other their comeuppance at the end of their match in this tournament, I think Saya versus Tam is definitely unlocked at some point in the future, and I would definitely go with it here. Saya winning and facing Tam. But that is Stardom. Let's now go on to previewing what's happening this week with NXT and AEW. I'm actually previewing NXT this week, because now that NXT is on a different night, I actually have a very little intrigue to check out NXT this week. Now, the biggest issue I have with NXT right now is that, unlike AEW, they don't preview their entire card for you. They preview a couple matches, but they don't show all their hands, which I don't like personally. I like knowing what most of the card is going to be, but so be it. Saray is going to be debuting on this show. Saray of Marvelous fame, a very big Joshi wrestler. Well, not very big, but sizably big Joshi wrestler, making her debut finally on NXT. Can't wait. Kyle O'Reilly will be returning on this show. Cool. Kushida will be defending. Well, no. Not defending. He'll be celebrating his win of beating Santos Escobar and becoming the new Cruiserweight champion. I hate when WWE does this. Oh, we're going to celebrate the champion's victory. Like, bitch, just say they're coming out to do a promo. Or don't even say that. Just have them appear. I don't fucking know. I don't get it. And then we also have Dexter Lumis versus LA Knight. And that's all that NXT has to offer. Even though it's tonight, that's all they have to offer for me right now. On AEW, we have Trent versus Penta El Zero Miero. That should be really good. I feel like they've had a match in the past before, but I'm excited for this one. I think that Penta gets the W here. He has to really start getting some wins here, especially after getting a loss to Cody a few weeks ago. I could definitely see him getting some wins back. Recently announced is Billy Gunn versus QT Marshall. I don't really care for that match, but QT wins because they're going to push QT. Ricky Starks versus Hangman Page should be really good. I think Hangman Page gets the dub. They may be positioning Hangman Page to face Kenny Omega at Double or Nothing next month. And if that's the case, then he should be whacking up wins. We have Christian Cage versus Powerhouse Hobbs. That is going to be interesting considering the two different styles. Very different styles. I'm going to go Christian Cage to win. Then we have two championship matches. Now, take a look at this. The next two matches I'm going to mention are singles matches. And as of this moment, there are no tag team matches on AEW Dynamite. Guys, we gotta clap it up. I am absolutely mind blown that Tony Khan realizes that you don't have to consist of 18 tag team matches on one show. Now, I don't believe for a single second that this is going to stay that way. They may try their best to incorporate one tag team. Even if it's a squash match, he might get cold feet and incorporate one tag team match on the show. But if not, this may be the first time, to my knowledge, in the last year or two, that AEW has done a singles only night. This may be the last one because I don't think they're going to get that ballsy. But I am very proud of them for pulling off this card. And I'm excited for it. But the next two matches are championship matches, as I mentioned earlier. Hikaru Shida will be defending her AEW Women's Championship against Tay Conti. Tay Conti has been getting some wins lately. I think she has like 12-0. She's damn near undefeated, has been getting a lot of wins. She's been improving a lot. I think she's very warranted for this championship match against Shida, who is 3-0 all year, 3 matches, 4 months, going on 5. That is another discussion for another day. But I think Shida will be retaining her championship. Then we have Darby Allin versus Jungle Boy for the TNT Championship, where I believe that Darby Allin will retain the TNT Championship as well. But there is a possible chance that Jungle Boy could win this match as well. I say that only because Jungle Boy will have faced off for this championship, I think, 3 times at that point. And he's been going on a good win streak lately. Jungle Boy is younger than Darby. I mean, Darby's not old. He's only 27. Younger than Darby. He definitely has a big future. He's definitely one of their guys. Jungle Boy is always on, when you think back to the inception of AEW, look at the posters, you look at the PR, who was featured a lot in PRs in the promotion for AEW? Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy is one of their... He may be just part of Jurassic Express now, but don't sleep on Jungle Boy. He is absolutely going to be a future AEW World Champion one day. And if they wanted to put the title on him now, they could, and I wouldn't really question it too much. Darby Allin is going to be going into his 8th defense. I wouldn't be upset if Jungle Boy wins this match, but I think Darby retains. Because Darby really hasn't had a proper feud yet. He hasn't had one. And I think Darby's due for a proper feud. And it's not against Jungle Boy. So I think Darby retains. And that is Dynamite and NXT this week. John Cena is turning 44 years old this Friday. I am turning 24 years old this Friday. So I wanted to do something special this week. And talk about my top 5 favorite John Cena matches. I'm not going to go too in-depth with these matches, but I'm going to talk about them briefly. And that is, not ranking in particular order, John Cena versus AJ Styles at SummerSlam 2016. That match was dope as hell. So you know what? I'm just going to name them. I'm not even going to go too in-depth because I have another list I want to go a little bit in-depth with. John Cena versus AJ Styles, SummerSlam 2016. John Cena versus CM Punk, Money in the Bank 2011. John Cena versus Kevin Owens, Elimination Chamber 2015. John Cena versus Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins, Royal Rumble 2015. And John Cena versus Daniel Bryan, SummerSlam 2013. The trend here is that these matches happened in a 5-year span of 2011 to 2016. That is really the peak area of John Cena, 2011 to 2016. He was on fire, especially in that 2015, 2016 period. Really 2013 to 2016, like that 3-4 year gap was peak John Cena. Even though there was a lot of room to hate on John Cena for being the overbooked, overused, overexposed wrestler that he was, you can't deny that man was putting on some of the best matches of the company at that period of time, especially 2015 during the John Cena US Open Challenge period. But I also want to talk about 24 years on this planet. I've been watching wrestling. Well, I've been watching wrestling technically since 2005. But I decided to go and make a list of my favorite matches from each year I've been alive. 1997. Of course, I have watched no wrestling from 1997 when I was born. But in the wrestling I've watched from that year, I appoint Aja Kong versus Manami Toyota from AJW, Budokan Queens, my favorite match of the year. That has got to be one of my favorite women's matches I've ever seen. Aja Kong and Manami Toyota are absolute masterful in everything they've done in that period of time. So, if you've never seen, not even just this match specifically, but a match of Manami Toyota and Aja Kong, because they had quite the battles. All their matches kick ass, but this one in the match they had in 1994, and I want to say, what is it, Dream Egg It was the show they had in 1994. This match and the 1994 match, among some of the greatest women's wrestling you'll ever see in your entire life. Do yourself a favor and go watch it. 1998. Now, this is not what I believe are the best matches of the year. These are my favorite matches of the year. Favorite match in 1998, Kane versus The Undertaker from WrestleMania 16. I don't really know too much great wrestling from 1998, but Kane versus The Undertaker from that year was just such a spectacle to see these two brothers go at each other, seeing Kane kick out of like 3 tombstones and 4 choke slams. It was no Cell City this match. I feel like that's why I loved it so much. Undertaker did win the match, but I liked it. It wasn't a 5-star classic. It wasn't, match of the year. But I felt like it was quite the visual to see these two men go at it. And I will never forget the visual of Kane choke slamming The Undertaker from the top rope all the way to the announce table. That image just burned into my mind. Much like Kane's face was burned up for all those years. Anyway, 1999. Mankind versus The Rock at Halftime Heat. This is not really a match, more of it is a segment. But seeing Mankind versus The Rock in an empty building, The Rock basically kicked the Mankind's ass all the way throughout this arena into the boiler rooms, in throughout the stage, into a meeting room where The Rock was talking on a phone and hits Mankind over the head, and Mankind's getting the Mankind and The Rock had some of the best matches, and they were never show stealer matches. They were merely The Rock was so charismatic. He had such a great stigma to him, and Mankind was willing to take these dastardly, insane bumps. And it just made for such great content, such grade A wrestling at that period of time. 2000, the new millennium. Triple H versus Cactus Jack. We go back to Mankind here. Triple H and Cactus Jack, Royal Rumble 2000. This, to this very day, will remain one of my all-time favorite matches. Triple H versus Cactus Jack at this street fight. These guys went all out. I mean, it wasn't a death match of any sort, but for that period of time, these guys battled it out. They told a great story, and I'll never forget the moment of Triple H pedigreeing Cactus Jack onto thumbtacks. Seeing Cactus Jack with thumbtacks in his mouth, on his mouth, near his lips, on his chest, even like 2 in his eyebrow, near his eye. Like, the insane visual of seeing that is just something you will never take away. 2001. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock from WrestleMania 17. That match is one of the all-time best. And it's undeniable. And I really don't have much to say about it aside from that. If I had to tie it up, I would say close second is Royal Rumble 2001 as well, which is to this day the greatest Rumble match of all time. You can make an argument for other ones in the past or in the future. But I say that the best Rumble ever is Royal Rumble 2001. The one where Kane just ran roughshod on everybody. Stone Cold came in and just... it's such a great one. 2002. Shawn Michaels versus Triple H. SummerSlam 2002. I had a DVD set. I believe it was the Triple H King of Kings DVD set. Because I couldn't watch pay-per-views. My parents couldn't afford it. So they bought me home videos. And the match I watched the most amount of times was always Triple H versus Shawn Michaels. It was a 3 stages of hell match. I believe the first stage was a no holds barred match. The second stage was, I want to say, Hell in a Cell, or the third stage was Hell in a Cell. I don't remember the exact sequence, but it was a 3 stages of hell match. And I still remember the first stage where Triple H takes a flaming barbed wire, like a 2x4, and takes Shawn Michaels over the head with it. Never will leave my head. They were bleeding like stuffed pigs throughout the match. It was great psychology. Some of the best wrestling you'll see. And it didn't have to have any like upper high skill work rate. It was just grade A old school storytelling. 2003. Controversial one, but Kane versus Shane McMahon, Unforgiven 2003. It was a crazy match. Shane McMahon running over Kane with the ambulance. These two battling backstage. All the spots. The story going into it was Shane shocking Shane McMahon's balls. Kane shocking Shane McMahon's balls, I should say. 2003 was a weird year, but that was definitely my favorite match. 2004. Brock Lesnar versus Eddie Guerrero. No Way Out 2004. I have not seen a plethora of Eddie Guerrero matches, believe it or not. But this match with Brock Lesnar is among one of the best I've seen. Just the way these two managed to mend together their clash of styles and make it work. And Eddie Guerrero having that achieving moment at the end, finally winning the WWE Championship. It's one of those crowning moments you'll never forget about. 2005. This is around a period of time when I really started to watch wrestling. AJ Styles versus Christopher Daniels versus Samoa Joe, Unbreakable 05. To this day, the greatest triple threat match of all time. You just really can't beat it. 2006. Bryan Danielson versus Nigel McGuinness, ROH Unified. Now, I did not see this match until last year. Credit to Joseph Montecillo for a series on this series between Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson, and Nigel McGuinness. But this is one of the most technically sound, intricate pieces of pro wrestling I've ever seen. And I recommend anybody go watch their series. 2007 was the Royal Rumble 2007. I don't know too many of the matches that happened that year that really came close to just how great the Royal Rumble was that year. Starting off with The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. That might have been 08. But no, that was definitely 08. Ending with Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. And really starting the story of what their match would be. Like, you know, going forward. That 5-year series they had was just tremendous. 2008. Which, in my opinion, is one of the greatest years in pro wrestling. Chris Jericho versus Shawn Michaels, No Mercy 2008. Now, this is a very hard choice. I had this. I had Edge versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Edge versus The Undertaker at SummerSlam. You had Triple H versus Jeff Hardy versus Edge. Like, there was a lot to choose from in 2008. But this one right here, this story between Chris Jericho and Shawn Michaels was just so... Oh my God. It's so hard to talk about. I mean, it's not hard to talk about, but it's so much to go into. But I gotta say, this is the number one for me. 2009 is a very easy gimme. The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 25, will go down as one of the greatest matches of all time. Many say it is the greatest match of all time, and I wouldn't disagree with them at all. I mean, if you want to rank this list, this may be number 2, number 1. Number 10. 2010. I have The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 26. Not as great as the year prior, but the retirement match for Shawn Michaels, up until 2019, the retirement match of Shawn Michaels will never be forgotten, will never be lived down. It was an amazing match. 2011. CM Punk versus John Cena, Money in the Bank 2011. It's impossible to really say any other match in 2011 really tops this one, as it's also one of the greatest matches of all time. But that match is just masterful as well. 2012. The Undertaker versus Triple H at WrestleMania 28. To this day, one of my favorite WrestleMania matches of all time. The Undertaker and Triple H in a Hell in a Cell match. The spot where The Undertaker is on his feet, gets super kicked. Oh my God, I call it super kick. Gets sweet chin music by Shawn Michaels into a pedigree from Triple H. This is the first WrestleMania I ever watched live. Watched live. And I remember seeing this match, literally jumping to my feet because DX is my favorite tag team of all time. Because I'm like, Triple H is going to beat The Undertaker streak, and it's all because of Shawn Michaels. The crowd was into it. I was on my feet, grabbing the little bit of hair I had. Like, this is it. This is it. And as he goes for the pin, the stream lags, and I'm like, no, what happened? What's happening? I was freaking out, bro. And when it came back 2 seconds later, The Undertaker kicks out. And I'm like, no, my God, he kicked out. Oh, my God, man. the nostalgia is hitting me just thinking about this spot in this match overall. So 2012, this match wins. 2013, it was very tough. I had to give it to 2. Daniel Bryan versus John Cena 2013 SummerSlam. One of the best John Cena matches of all time. And Katsuyori Shibata versus Tomoichi at G1 Climax 23 Day 4. The single best under 15-minute match you will ever see. It is a sprint to the finish. It is hard hitting. I promise you. Until I find another one, this is the best match under 15 minutes you will ever see. 2014. This is one of the peak years of NXT. Adrian Neville versus Sami Zayn, NXT TakeOver R Evolution. This match is just amazing. Amazing. And 2014 is a hard time to really talk about what was the best match of NXT because they had so many. I mean, Neville versus Sami Zayn. You had Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. You had the Fatal 4 with Sami Zayn and Adrian Neville and Tyson Kidd and Tyler Breeze. You had fucking Sasha Banks versus Becky Lynch. You had Charlotte Flair versus Sasha Banks. You had Bayley versus Becky Lynch. There was so many. And then 2015 was even more hard for NXT because there were so many fucking great matches. And I had to give it to this one. And this might be a personal bias here, but no NXT match made this list, made the number 1 spot for my favorite. This is not my top 10. This is not what I believe is the best. This is my favorite. But this goes to Kota Ibushi versus Shinsuke Nakamura at Wrestle Kingdom 9. This is my all-time favorite Japanese match. It is one of my very first about getting into Kota Ibushi and Shinsuke Nakamura in general. And it is just tremendous. To this day, I can watch it back and still enjoy it just as much as I did the first time. 2016. This is around a time where NXT was still in its peak area, but starting to near the end of it. But their tag division was on fire. I mean, it was on all fucking cylinders. And DIY versus The Revival at NXT TakeOver Toronto has to be one of the best tag team matches NXT has ever put on. It was a 2 out of 3 falls match. Tremendous storytelling. You could even compare this match to the likes of Kenny Omega, Heyman Page versus the Young Bucks. I would put it on that level. 2017. And you guys might fight me on this one. But Kazuchika Okada versus Kenny Omega 2. Dominion 2017. I'm a firm believer that match is better than the first one. The first match, which the more I watch the match back, the more I'm like, it was good, but it did a little bit too much. The 2017 match where they battled it up to a time limit draw. What's the word I'm looking for? The anticipation, the wait, the excitement you're getting into the last final 5 minutes, like who's going to get it, and then none of them get it. It's like, wow. It's not even that sense of I feel like I was cheated out of it. It was like they battled each other to their absolute, ultimate, I should say. I'm sorry, I'm running out of words here. But Kenny Omega and Okada, one of the best series of all time. But I would say their second match is my favorite one. 2018, without question, Andrade Cien Almas versus Johnny Gargano, NXT TakeOver Philadelphia. This match I saw live, and it will always remain one of my all-time favorite matches. Like, bar none. Bar none. I hate repeating myself, but just tremendous storytelling from top to bottom. Everything about this match is amazing. Even the end, where Johnny Gargano is walking up the ramp all dejected and sad, and the crowd's applauding him, and then Tommaso Ciampa finally returns and beats him over the back with his trademark, what was it at the time of his trademark, crutch that led into TakeOver New Orleans, arguably one of the greatest matches of the year as well. Oh my god, thinking about it is just, I really want to just rewatch back Johnny Gargano 2018, because that is when he was at Toyota Peak. At Toyota Peak, Johnny Gargano 2018. Need I say more? 2019, Dustin Rhodes versus Cody. AEW Double or Nothing 2019. Another match I was in attendance for, but that match was fucking amazing. It was one of the best matches I've ever seen live. In 2020, Ilya Dragunov versus Volta. That is not my number one, or my number one, best match of the year. I made a whole top 50 best matches of the year. You guys can definitely go watch that on YouTube. But this is my favorite match of the year. It is agonizing and brutal to watch Volta beat Ilya senseless throughout this match. But god damn it, it is cinematic art. And I loved it so much. I was going to preview Impact Rebellion, but for content purposes, I'm going to wait until Friday to do that. So that is where we end the podcast off here. Thank you all for tuning in. I love you all as always. And I will see you all this coming Sunday. I will be live for Impact Rebellion. So tune in on Sunday, and then I'll see you all next week where I will be reviewing Impact Rebellion. Peace out, guys.